Okay, hello everyone. Thank you and welcome to this event hosted by myself, Sam Warwick. Here at Oxygen Digital, I oversee the Earth Technology Desk, and this is in collaboration and brought to you by Women in Geospatial. Thank you very much for allowing me to host this event, and I hope you get some value. Before we do move forward, I just want to extend a heartfelt thanks to Carmel, Emily, and Anna for collaborating to organise such a meaningful event. Your planning and contributions to this have made this possible. So thank you very much.
Sure, thanks, Sam. We're excited to be here. As Sam mentioned, we will be collaborating for Mastering Your CV. Sam will do his own introduction, but is an expert recruiter, and we're excited to have this event. So I'm Emily, and Carmel and I are volunteers for Women Plus in Geospatial, and our mission is to empower, connect, and elevate underrepresented genders in geospatial by fostering a supportive community. So with events like these and social events, etc. So whether you're seasoned professional or just emerging into the geospatial world, we have events and other resources for you. So we encourage you to engage during this event. Drop your thoughts, ask questions, connect with other people in the audience. Please stay muted, and Carmel at the end will be doing navigating the Q&A. So anything you comment in the chat, she'll look through, and we'll get to that later. And this event will also be recorded, just so you know. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, Sam.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Emily. Really appreciate that. So look, I guess I think the first things first is just to introduce myself and the business here at Oxygen Digital, just extending on what Emily said there. So Oxygen Digital was actually founded in 2017 by our CEO, Richard Jackson. We're a fully integrated talent partner dedicated to accelerating decarbonisation by connecting businesses with the talent that drives transformative change. We offer a range of solutions that leverage extensive passive networks and prioritize building blended, inclusive, and diverse workforces. Our expertise spans across key markets such as energy trading and risk management, so ETRM, renewable engineering, and I have the luxury of overseeing the Earth Technology Desk. This is where I collaborate with organizations seeking to hire professionals like yourselves in AI, product, and engineering. And my focusing involves expertise in geospatial, remote sensing, and environmental monitoring, amongst other specializations. So I guess let's start with a brief origin of the term CV to lay the foundation for today's session. So the term CV comes from the Latin phrase curriculum vitae, which means course of life. It originated as a comprehensive document used to outline a person's academic and professional journey. And the concept of the CV dates back to medieval Europe, where scholars and professionals would present detailed accounts of their skills, education, and achievements when seeking employment or patronage. Over time, it evolved into the modern format we use today, varying slightly by country and industry. So, heading into the first section of this workshop, I'm curious to understand just how confident you are with your CV. What I'd like you to do is, with the poll attached, is to select an option in the featured poll, with 1 being very confident and 4 not confident at all. And for accuracy, please be as honest as you can. So we have now completed the poll, I believe. So hopefully you've all had the opportunity to select an option. Now, what you should be able to see here, I am just going to kind of zoom in a little bit more detail, just so you can see that ever so slightly. Now, an appropriate question to ask at this point in time when was the last time you updated your CV? I think on so many occasions, we only tend to update our CV when we are seeking a new opportunity, for example. And if that is the case, you're not alone. All right. what I do understand, what's really important here is to regularly update your CV, and to ensure that you do that. It's a very smart, it's a smart career move to ensure that that's the case, even if you're not planning to switch roles at any point soon. Why is that, might you ask? Well, I can imagine some of you might have experienced brain fog when it comes to updating your CV, questioning what you actually do for a job. Yep, we've all been there. Once again, you're not alone. It's really easy to forget the specifics or the impact you've had over time. So by updating your CV regularly, it ensures that these accomplishments are accurately reflected. Furthermore, when it comes to your CV, I'm an advocate for saying be proactive, not reactive. You never know when an exciting opportunity is going to arise. Having an up-to-date CV will ensure that you can act quickly and confidently when applying for that particular position. Reviewing your CV periodically as well is also a great way to take stock of your career progress, your skills, and your goals, and it's a chance to see how far you've come and where you want to go. In a world full of noise, it's also a chance to find your bearings, learn who you are again, and strive towards who you wish to become. Okay. So I think what's also really important as well is the way in which we can consume and process information is always changing. It's always evolving, and making essential changes to optimize your CV for easy readability in today's competitive market is very important. I think it's important to make it a habit for you to update your CV a few months after achieving major milestones, as this small time investment can make a big difference, especially when the job search process can feel overwhelming. Okay, hopefully you've had an opportunity to take in some of the statistics here on how important actually a CV can be. I do think that, as much as technology might be introduced nowadays and innovation can be found, I always feel like a very, simple CV is still something that is so effective to this day. And, I do think it won't age. Okay, I think it will go on to be an incredibly effective tool amongst many tools that you have in applying and going for new jobs. Okay, so before proceeding, I wanted to extend my gratitude to everyone who submitted their CV ahead of the event. The quality of the CVs that I've managed to have a look at has been outstanding. Okay. Now, as communicated before the event, only a limited number of CVs could be selected for review. I've carefully chosen the ones included, ensuring the feedback highlights both strengths and areas for improvement. So without further ado, let's proceed. So I'd like to start by drawing attention to the keywords and the tooling displayed in this particular CV here. Keywords or tooling or technical skills, as it's labeled in this CV, are prominently displayed and optimized for searchability. I can zoom in, I believe, a little bit more into the CV. Bear with me one moment. So the section I was referring to in this is the technical skills section here. Okay, and let's draw your attention to that. Okay, so what's really important here is that the keywords, for example, the Python, Java, SQL, it's all laid prominently displayed in this CV. Okay. And it's optimized for searchability. So this is particularly important when your CV is stored in a database or an ATS system, for example, as recruiters and talent acquisition specialists often use Boolean searches to identify candidates with specific expertise. For example, a hiring manager might request a geospatial data analyst with experience in Python, PostgreSQL, and QGIS, and the CV in question effectively highlights the candidate's proficiency in these tools within the geospatial field, making them easily discoverable, but also coming up very strong in terms of the ranking. I don't know if you know this, but in many databases and many applicant tracking systems, the stronger your CV is optimized in terms of keywords, based off of Boolean search, keyword searches and string searches, the stronger your CV will rank in terms of the ranking system that is there. In regards to this particular CV, what's really interesting is It has bullet points. Now you're probably thinking, bullet points, they are so simple. Yes, very simple, but incredibly effective. Using bullet points helps the reader process information more easily by breaking it into manageable bite-sized sections instead of dense paragraphs. We can go back to format as well. So the arrangement of information on the CV is effective, but it could be adjusted based on perspective. For instance, a hiring manager could look at this particular CV and might suggest to prioritize education over voluntary experience, suggesting a swap in their order. And what I'm referring to here is the voluntary experience here and the education here. Alternatively, if your education is highly relevant to your field, you might even go one step further and you might place it at the top above work experience and position technical skills below work experience instead. Now, to improve this CV, I would recommend to elaborate on responsibilities and highlight the outcomes of their work. For instance, if we address our attention to the section where it states here, developed and implemented automated Python scripts to streamline spatial data descriptor calculations for urban and natural environments, significantly reducing manual effort while enhancing efficiency and accuracy in delivering insights for nature, hazard response, and civil security planning. I know that's a large amount of text, but ultimately what I would recommend doing on this particular CV is quantifying that impact. For example, by how much manual effort was reduced or efficiency and accuracy improved. Even if you don't have access to this data, because I do appreciate some of you might not have access to this data, or it might be under an NDA, by providing a more detailed description can create a much stronger impression. Okay, now moving on to the second CV here. What's really important is to have proper spacing and spreading your CV across multiple pages. So with this particular CV, I'm going to show you it in its entirety. You can see here that it's on one page. Now, in regards to the spacing and spreading your CV across multiple pages can offer key benefits. It improves the readability, making it easier for recruiters to quickly scan and digest key information. Thoughtful spacing helps highlight important sections, like your experience and skills, while maintaining a professional appearance that looks organized and polished. Now, a multi-page CV also provides more room for detail, allowing you to elaborate on achievements without overcrowding the document. It also helps to avoid overwhelming the reader, ensuring clarity and ease of navigation, because CVs naturally, whether you're holding them physically or whether they're on screen, the text can be quite small at times, and we'll come on to format of the font and the types of text that you might use at a later point in this. For more experienced professionals, a multi-page CV is often necessary to cover your qualifications fully without oversimplifying or leaving out key details. For those who have recently graduated, and I do appreciate that a lot of you who are in this call today have maybe recently graduated or are maybe looking to emerge into this particular industry, don't hesitate to highlight your education or your academics before your work experience. A good CV is all about highlighting what you believe to be most significant at that given point. And for a recent graduate, highlighting the work you have done in research and your thesis will seem a more appropriate thing to do. As you gain more experience, you can then adjust the CV accordingly. Now, when it comes to showcasing your technical skills as well, I have seen various approaches of all the different CVs that I've seen. Some people integrate the technologies they've worked with into their functional skills, whilst others choose to separate them. Personally, I believe it's best to keep them separate for consistency purposes. What I'm referring to here is if I show you is the skills section here. Okay, you can see this person as good as the CV is, has crammed all of their skills into one particular area, and sometimes it can be very helpful to be able to dissect those. So, with regards to this candidate, once again, a very, very impressive CV, I must add. Now, this candidate, in comparison to some of you watching, may actually have some more experience than some of you attending today's webinar. But don't feel intimidated. Over time, your own work experience will provide plenty of valuable information to share. And this is definitely a journey and not a race. All right. That being said, I appreciate that what this individual has done with their CV, and also that they've provided details into their work, the technologies they've used, and in some cases quantified their achievements. They've also included links throughout, giving the reader chances to explore further, adding context to what they're actually talking about. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to draw our attention to the bottom of their CV, where they've actually dissected their skills into sections along with the technologies they use for that particular area. For example, there is an area at the bottom of the CV down here where you have programming languages and you've got data visualization. Okay, programming languages, you've got things like RStudio, Python, JavaScript, HTML, and then for the data visualization, you've got HTML, CSS, Carto, ArcGIS, etc. What I like about that is they have dissected it into specific areas, really showing the depth of skill set that they have rather than just listing out endless technologies. It gives a little bit more clarity as to the different types of verticals that they specialize in. In some cases, I have also seen people self-assess or rate their skills with various technologies, being open and transparent, but sometimes you can be a little bit too honest. Okay, while this approach can demonstrate honesty and integrity, it may be perceived differently by others and could potentially hinder your chances of landing an interview. I would recommend avoiding this and instead consider simply listing the technologies without any scoring. Alternatively, you could take it a step further, detailing the technologies along with examples of when and how you've used them in a real world environment. Okay, now moving on to the third CV, oh no, the final CV, I do apologize. Now, an important yet simple improvement to your CV is the choice of font. Studies show that 85% of hiring managers consider a CV's layout and design critical in forming their impression of a candidate. A clean, easy to read font is a key element of that design. Additionally, 60% of recruiters admit to forming judgments about a CV's layout within seconds, highlighting the importance of selecting the right font to make a strong first impression. Firsthand, being a recruiter myself, there has been times where I've looked at a CV and based off of previous experience, there have been a few things that I've been critiquing within the first 5 to 10 seconds, but I've always, given candidates a chance. For me, I do try to look past the CV. If I feel like it's a candidate worth speaking to because I see elements of promise, 100% I'd be open to the idea of speaking with them. And I also believe that, the CV can only do so much, but I also feel like the CV is the key to open the door. I think once you actually get yourself in front of those people, I'm sure you'd be, incredible at interviewing. I just think it's really important to ensure that this CV is going to give you that chance to put yourself in front of them. Now, my suggestions for this would be 10 to 12 in terms of size for the body of text, and then 12 to 14 for headings. So what I'm referring to is 10 to 12 for this section. And for example, if you wanted to increase the size of the headings where it says work experience or formal education, for example, always make that ever so slightly bigger so that it breaks it up once more. It's really, really important for someone to be able to navigate your CV. In terms of fonts that are typically accepted in this particular area, you could consider Arial, Calibri, Helvetica, or Times New Roman. I'm sure you're all familiar with those fonts. If you aren't, you can always resort to the top section of Word or wherever you are. Forming your CV. We can go over some details of where you can form your CV, different types of website later on in this presentation. Now, what's really important at this point is maintaining consistency in your CV. It's crucial. For instance, the structure in terms of the content so that the reader can follow it vertically rather than side by side, or offering multiple pathways. In this case, as in this CV, I would recommend placing the professional profile above the technical skills in a horizontal format. You can see here the professional profile. I would put it into a horizontal format rather than doing two separate boxes that are going down vertically. I would start off with the professional profile and then follow with the technical skills. What I do like about this CV is the fact that they have broken it down into geospatial, remote sensing, data, and soft skills. Really giving the reader a good understanding of their strengths in the areas of geospatial and the types of tooling that they've used, and then the remote sensing areas as well. Not to forget, of course, the data. Depending on the type of reader, I don't do this, but I have heard other professionals, other recruiters, other people in talent acquisition who have. You can see here under data, data collection, data analysis, and then ended with Python, R, and SQL. I don't do this, but some people can actually see that maybe they would infer that Microsoft Office is more of a strong suit than Python because Python is in the latter of the sentence. So, to avoid any misunderstanding, if you feel like there's a particular technology that you are stronger in than others, for example, in this case, let's say this person is stronger in Python than they are with Microsoft Office, for example, I would always recommend putting Python first to mitigate the risk of that happening. Ultimately, we want to recommend placing the professional profile above the technical section in a horizontal format. And the goal is to make your CV easy and enjoyable to read, not challenging for the reader to navigate. They are going through many CVs in a certain block, and we just want to ensure that yours is remembered. What I want to add is that with some of the platforms suggested at this point here, they do offer both free and paid versions. Some of my favorites do include Canva, and on the next slide, there is my second favorite, which is resume.io. Now with Canva, easy to use platform with a wide range of modern customizable CV templates. It's great for creative and visually appealing resumes. Let's say you are a designer, for example, in this particular area, you might choose to use Canva or Adobe Suite, for example, Premiere Pro of that matter. You then have places like Indeed, which is, as said there, a free version. It's a CV builder as long as a job board, and offers plenty of different templates designed for various types of roles. You then have Zeti, Visual CV, and Novo Resume. Okay, as mentioned, this is being recorded, so you can go back to this and you can find the different types of websites that are suitable, and you can choose the one that you feel resonates with you the most. You then have the specialized CV builders, as I mentioned, resume.io here. What I like about resume.io is that it does start to incorporate a lot of AI, and it's very kind of intuitive in a sense of if you're unsure on how it should be formatted, they will give you guidance on where things should go and how it's going to look. It also gives you a score as to how good your CV is for like ATS systems, databases, how it's going to be perceived by a hiring manager, for example. So that's really good. In terms of tips for choosing, so do your research and select a platform that aligns with your industry. Ensure that the templates are ATS compatible for better success in online job applications. And also preview and tailor your CV for each specific job or role. What I would say is don't spend too much time on iterations per job, okay? All I'm trying to say is if you feel like your CV could be tweaked ever so slightly to be better aligned with the job you're applying for, and it's only going to take you 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, I would 100% do it. But if it means that it's taking you a further hour in terms of iterations to apply for this particular position, maybe the position's not for you, but that's okay. Fantastic. Okay, so moving on to the next part, we have another poll. How active are you on LinkedIn? Based off of the previous poll, 1 very active or 4 not active at all. I'm pretty sure this is where the event was actually published, so I hope you are somewhat active. Okay, fantastic. Just going to move forward. And oh look, 1 more poll. I do apologize for all of the different polls. It just gives us a good idea as to where people are at and maybe how we can optimize some of these types of presentations moving forward, bar the technical issues. So how important do you believe your LinkedIn profile is? So we're going to go into a little bit of detail about your LinkedIn profile. I understand I've got some running commentary. We've got a lot of 3s coming here, which is very interesting. I think 3 is better than 4. Got a few 1s coming in. Amazing. Good stuff. Really happy to see that. LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn is very good. I'm an advocate for LinkedIn. I'm so vocal on it. If you all haven't joined Geospatial Worldwide, then by all means do so. It's an awesome place for everyone to share their insights, news, showcase themselves or advertise different types of vacancies. It's a centralized system for all things geospatial. It's on LinkedIn. It's called Geospatial Worldwide. Feel free to join in. It's free of charge, naturally so. All right. Now, the importance of optimizing your not your CV, your LinkedIn. Okay, so we have got my profile. Okay, now let's start off with the picture. What I think would be really good is if you just upload a current, high quality, professional headshot. Avoid full body shots and selfies. Okay. Moving forward, you've got things like captivating banners that are relatable to you, the company you work for example, or the work that you do. I would always advise having something there rather than keeping it blank. It just adds a bit more of a dynamic to your profile. I do appreciate that in some instances you might be working for a company where it's compulsory to have a uniform banner as your profile banner, but if you have the choice to make it your own, then make it something that is relatable to you and what you do professionally. In terms of headlines, definitely use this area if you can. Geospatial and Earth technology staffing. This is an opportunity to explain in a few words about what you do and where or why. You have 220 characters available, and what would be great is if you include your role and perhaps either a specific achievement, years of experience, or what you specialize in. Maybe you might have geospatial analyst, and then maybe like a dash, and if you've completed an MBA, for example, you might just put MBA, or if you've done a PhD or whatever. All right. What I would avoid, okay, is putting X and then company. For example, I see a lot of people put X Meta or X Facebook, X Amazon, or X company I've never heard of. Look, in my opinion, okay, and take this with a pinch of salt, it's a vanity statement, okay, and it actually can be negatively perceived by other hiring managers and recruiters, believe it or not. Now, you do also have the opportunity to include like a link. Use it wisely. This can be either for a portfolio or your own website. It could be for your GitHub, newsletter, for example, or you can also use platforms like Linktree to host to host multiple links in one place. Now, moving forward to the about section, which is just below the section that we was just on. This is an opportunity for you to summarize your unique value. So you can use this space to summarize the types of industries you've worked in, areas of expertise, projects you're proud of, and key deliverables. I would advise keeping it professional, but don't forget to add some personality, but also keep it relatively short. All right. I do appreciate that you can, probably thinking, well, Sam, that's not very short. Well, I've kept a very brief introduction as to who I am and what I do, the verticals I specialize in, examples of some of the vacancies I specialize in, so that those people in, whether they be a data scientist or a machine learning engineer, software engineer, modelers, can come to me and ask me about opportunities. I've given them the opportunity to contact me as well. Of course, if you don't want to put your contact details on it, you don't have to. It's just in my, I guess, occupation, it's probably important for me to do so that I can connect and I can network with those people. And sometimes it might be nice for you to, at the bottom, put opinions and comments are my own and do not represent those of my employer. In case you are someone who is incredibly vocal on LinkedIn, sometimes you might have a few controversial statements that are, still professional. Maybe you are one to debate. Sometimes it's just good to have that there to ensure that insurance. All right. Also, as well, you have something at the bottom called skills. It will give you an opportunity to actually add a maximum of 5 skills to the about section. And I would recommend making use of this option, as they will make your profile more discoverable in searches as well. Okay, the moment that you have all been waiting for, the Q&A. All right, so I believe I'm going to stop sharing this now. Okay. I understand that, Carmel, do you have all of the questions or some of the questions?
Yes, we've got a good number of questions here in the questions tab. So I think the plan is I'll read them out to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Yeah.
Kind of go through them. Maybe I'll try this start live answer button. And we do have a good number of questions, so maybe we can take just 1 to 2 minutes to go into each one and not spend too long on each one. Make sure everyone gets their questions answered.
And also, as well, just to add on to that, if one of the questions is something that maybe I can't quite answer now, if you could just pin that and then send it over to me, what I can do is I can go and find out some information, gather the answer, or maybe have a think about this, just to ensure that I'm giving that person the best information possible. Maybe that's something that could be published as well post this event. It's something that we can look into, but yeah, I just want to ensure that I get the answers precise and correct for you all.
For sure. And people can find you on LinkedIn after this as well. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. More than welcome to connect with me. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to spare some time and speak with you all following this event.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start at the kind of earliest and work back up to the newest. The first 2 questions kind of go together. How many pages should a CV ideally have? Yep. Does adding a picture make a point? And so 3 questions, and what is the main difference between a resume and a CV? So the first part of that was how many pages should it ideally have?
Absolutely, no, it's a great question. Okay, I'm going to start off with the amount of pages. So for me, I would refrain from just doing a 1-pager. Okay, even if you don't have extensive work experience to this point in time, because maybe you've just graduated or you're just starting out in your career, still try and extend to at least 2 pages. I think the happy medium is anywhere between 2 and 3 pages. For example, though, my actual CV is 4 pages. Okay, but that's because I've got quite a few different highlights that I'd like to extend upon, give value to. Now, in regards to the 2 to 3 pages, what's really important is not only do you put things into bullet points, but you put down your responsibilities and your projects, and you extend upon those. You quantify, you elaborate upon those, which can start to create a little bit more of text. Start to extend it over 2 to 3 pages. So I'd say yes, 2 to 3 pages is where I feel like it should sit. In terms of having a picture on your CV, It is completely personal preference. Okay, if it was mine, I would probably refrain from including it in there. I don't feel like it makes a point. It does, I guess, put a face to a name, as they say. But I would want them to. In some ways, you kind of want to create a bit of mystery. Okay, you want to create a bit of mystery. You want to kind of make them think, who is this person? And maybe you might want to include your LinkedIn profile. At that point, there they can go onto your LinkedIn profile and see who you are and what you look like. Okay, so yeah, I'd probably avoid putting the picture in. It is personal preference. If you feel like you want to do it, that's fine. It's not kind of detested against. Okay, but yeah, I would probably just include your LinkedIn profile, not just for the picture's sake, but for many other reasons as well. And in regards to the difference between CV and resume, now that's a great question. And it's actually one that came up in the discussions when planning this event with Carmel and Emily. And it was one that kind of stunned me a little bit. So thank you very much for asking that. In the UK and across Europe, they tend to associate this particular document as a CV, curriculum vitae. But I am under the impression that in the United States or North America, for example, it is commonly known as a resume. So I think it does depend on geographic. Okay, but ultimately there isn't much difference unless where you live specifically there is such thing as a CV, okay, and there is such thing as a resume, and they both have their own intended purposes. So yeah, I'm more than happy to go and put some research into the differences between that, but I don't think there is a great deal. I think they are just what they are commonly known as in those particular areas. So yeah, hopefully that answers your questions.
Okay. Moving another question kind of related to that. If you are international, should you mention sponsorship on your CV or your cover letter?
Yeah, do you know what? It's a very good question once again. If you do require visa sponsorship and you are intending to apply for jobs overseas or places where you know that you will need to be sponsored, I think it's important to label that. Okay, I think it saves conversation. I think not every company is able to sponsor. Okay, whether that be startup or a large conglomerate or an established corporate. Okay, I think just by adding that information there, it ensures that the opportunities you are going for, they and both you are being very transparent with each other. There are things that are required. I just think it's an important information to have. Okay.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because, and I'll go back because there's a few similar questions. Kind of about if you have had like a career change or if you're moving career paths. The question is, in the case where some previous roles don't reflect the career path that you're on now, do you advise removing them? And kind of similar to that, would you include projects on your resume if you have years of work experience that are in a different field, like in a career switch?
Yeah, okay. So in terms of projects that are associated with the job prior to the career switch, is that what you're referring to?
I think projects and roles that show that you've been in a career path, but not necessarily this geospatial one.
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. So I think let's use the geospatial community or field as an area here. So let's say you've just come into the geospatial field. You're maybe a few months or maybe even a year into your job, okay, and you're starting to update your CV. Fantastic stuff. Prior to that, you maybe worked in sales, marketing. Maybe you were a barista. I don't know. Okay. I think if you're aiming to continue your trajectory in the geospatial field, okay, and you're not looking to go back to sales or being a barista or or marketing for that matter, legal, law, whatever, I would definitely focus on including as much information as you can on the geospatial side of things, because I feel like those who are reviewing your CV could be interested in the fact that you have come from a sales background and marketing, but would definitely be more interested in more recent, more relevant experience to that particular field. And that said, I would probably refrain from putting chapter and verse of projects, responsibilities that will fill up a lot of the space that you could probably utilize for other areas. I would say that if you have a project or responsibilities that you completed in the jobs prior to your career switch that you feel could complement or be transferable to the geospatial field, I would then suggest absolutely include that if you feel like it's going to add value. But I'd say if not, try and be as brief as possible. Don't shy away from including it. It's who you are. It's how you've become where you've come today. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
And kind of similar to that, how would you format or explain a gap in your resume? Like if you had to take some time off for family reasons or for any other reason?
Yeah, don't be afraid from doing that. Okay. For the right opportunity, they will accept that. Okay. I have experienced some employers in the past maybe decline a candidate because they feel, not necessarily due to the gap, but they feel like there are other candidates who maybe have more consistent, more experience in that areas. But if you've had to take some time out for whatever reason, of course, I don't think it's necessary for you to kind of disclose why that is. And then I guess, if you do go to interview stage and they do ask you, what was the career gap for, then of course it's down to you whether you wish to answer that. You have to feel comfortable at the end of the day, but don't be afraid of including that. If you want to include why, that's also fine. Sometimes it's to be a carer, sometimes it's to go on a sabbatical. At the end of the day, it's part of your story. It's part of your journey. This isn't a race, okay? I'm a big advocate for the right opportunity, and the right person will always come together. So yeah.
Great answer. We have a question: if you could recommend a good ATS checker.
A good ATS checker. Great question. I'd say it. So look, with websites like resume.io, I know I keep advocating for it. Trust me, I'm not a sponsor, but if resume.io is in here, I'm happy to sponsor you. I would say that it's a good website for you to plug and play. What I mean by that is you can sparse your CV into this, and I think it can give you an ATS scoring. Okay, I do think that if you went onto Google and you just typed in ATS checker, forget all the sponsored results that come up, or the ads that come up. If you go to the first result, I would imagine it probably has an opportunity for you to check your CV against the ATS system and see how it would score. Just bear in mind that some of these websites do ask you to pay in the end to find your results. I think in terms of ATSs, I think to answer, I guess, a different part of your question, some of the best ATS systems out there are ATS systems like Greenhouse or Team Taylor, for example. They might even have sections on their website for you to be able to check your CV against the ATS. So it's something I'm happy to do some more research on, see if there's any free samples where you can start checking your checking your CV against the ATS. Equally, if you would like to send me your CV, don't get me wrong, I'm no ATS, I'm no AI, I'm not a robot, I am a human. I'm more than happy to check it and see how it would fare up on our end when storing it on the database. We use something called Bullhorn. It's a CRM system, very compliant, and of course all of your data will be kept confidential in accordance with GDPR. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
To follow up on that, we did have a question about where exactly to find you to send you your CV to get thoughts on them. And I know you can't promise to do everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's fine. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's definitely the caveat is I have so much going on in the day, so many candidates. I do hope that anyone who is watching, I've maybe had the opportunity to speak with you in the past. Maybe I haven't. I don't know. I hope I get the opportunity to speak with you in the future. I'm always open to having, I guess, just very casual conversations over a video call, very similar to this, or maybe a phone call, whatever. Or if you don't have the time availability, if we just want to speak over LinkedIn, over text, I'm also very happy to do that. The email my email, sam.warwick@oxygendigital.ai, is going to be included in the chat section. I believe my colleague Anna is going to share that. If not, we'll make sure we get it over to everyone so that if they wanted to send their CV through, then I'm more than happy to take some time out and review those, because look, 4 CVs that were reviewed today out of a potential 100, I do appreciate that, you know, we've not been able to do that. Just once again, it is quite simply for time's sake, and that's it. I'd say, yeah, that's probably the best thing. All right. Look, I do appreciate, guys, that this event has had. Okay, I can only apologize for that, but I'm hoping that we can utilize a different system moving forward, and the next event is, you know, even better than this and able to provide you so much more value without any interruptions. So yeah, once again, I just wanted to apologize for that, because that is definitely not intentional. It's not great, not the greatest impression, but yeah, apologies. Is there any other questions that I can answer whilst I'm here?
There are a few more questions in the chat. I do want to say that Sam's email and his LinkedIn are in the chat feature, so you can go find him on there.
Sure.
And we do have an upcoming event that will focus more on LinkedIn, so be on the lookout for that.
Amazing.
We have 5 more minutes. Let's kind of rapid fire and see if we can get just a few more questions answered for.
Absolutely.
Does adding project experience, like in hackathons or school projects, add value to your CV?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say hackathons, most definitely. You know, add that experience in. Depending on where you add that experience is really important. I'd say that maybe you could include that in and around the education area. Maybe you could you could include it in maybe like a sporadic area, or like other, you know, maybe like I saw on one person's CV that they had voluntary experience. Maybe you could create something similar where you talk about, you know, particular project experience or hackathons. The scoring, I know that a lot of people do like Kaggle competitions if you're in the AI and data space, and you know, seeing that is seen as quite a good level of work, and you know, clearly you're very skilled at that level. So yeah, definitely include those things in there.
If you are going for kind of more of a developer, coder, engineer role, do you see employers caring a lot about those, like GitHub portfolios and projects, or not so much?
Do you know what? It's an incredibly controversial debate, and one that will just continue, I think, from here on. In my opinion, I think it's better to have it than to not. Okay, as long as it's something that you are actively contributing to, actively updating, something that you don't just do a few repos and then just leave it for you know, dormant for however long. If it's something you're actively working on, contributing to, something you're proud of, definitely include it. You know, especially if you are going for those coding, developing, engineering areas. All right.
Awesome. How should you go about selecting the keywords to mention on your CV based on the job posting?
Yeah, I would have a look. You know, so what's really important is to hop into the mind of someone in talent acquisition or recruitment, or the hiring manager who is looking for your CV. Now, if you're looking to apply to a geospatial Python developer role, for example, okay, start to think about some of the keywords that are included in the job description and start to reflect those honestly. You know, make sure we're honest about this, because you don't want to be applying for something that just isn't suitable for you. And we're talking about things like Python, microservices, serverless architecture, thinking about things like ArcGIS or QGIS, you know, Rasterio, or you know, all of the different types of geospatial technologies that you might include, and then insert them where necessary. Where necessary being the keywords. Okay, we need to ensure that it's incredibly important to be very honest, very transparent, very authentic, and original with what you're putting. I think the technologies is probably the most important keywords, because they are the keywords that they're going to be using to define the search, the Boolean search. So just once again, if you're adding keywords, go into the mind of someone doing a keyword search. If you don't know what a Boolean search is, maybe after this, go and spend some time on YouTube looking at what a Boolean search is, and try to understand a bit more about how a person in talent acquisition might search for your profile. And if you can then mirror that, you could be onto a winner.
Let me ask you one more super quick question because we're almost out of time.
Sure.
I think this would be a yes or no question.
Yeah.
If you are currently in your master's, is it worth listing, you're doing a JS master's, is it worth listing the modules that you're in and the grades that you got for them?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. If you don't mind me just elaborating on that, if you are in your master's or PhD or bachelor's, whatever, okay, and you don't have extensive work experience, like I said earlier in the presentation, please include it, okay. Just utilize as much information as you can about you as a person. I have recently been able to land someone a role. Yes, they had a PhD, okay, I'm going to come clean with that, but they had like a little bit of research experience post the PhD. Okay, we've landed them a really cool opportunity. How? Well, their thesis was based on land use change for a particular field. Okay, it was really interesting. Client loved it. Client also loved the type of person they were. So you bring those two things together. So cultural add, academics. You can land yourself some really cool opportunities, even if you don't have a PhD. If you have a master's, you have a bachelor's degree, okay, or if you're just coming into the field and you can land these positions, it is possible, irrespective of what they say about the market at the moment. All right, so yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
And that brings us to the hour. I think we
Wow.
got most questions answered, but of course, connect with all of us, and we'll post the recording of this as well as
Absolutely.
We'll gather the questions that maybe weren't answered.
Maybe clip the start part of the technical issues. Yeah, no, well, look, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has attended today. Please come back again if we are able to put forward another event. It sounds to me like you've got a really interesting LinkedIn event coming up from Women in Geospatial, so get yourselves signed up to that as well. Keep an eye out for updates from me. I'm always trying to put value out onto my feed as to how you can, better yourself in this particular field, better your CV. And please don't hesitate to get in touch and ask me questions. I'll do my absolute best to try and get back to you. If I don't within reasonable time, then just understand that I'm probably avalanched under with many questions. Finally, I just want to say thank you to Carmel, Emily and Anna for putting this together. It's been an absolute pleasure, definitely a first for me, so hopefully it will only get better from here. And yeah, Geospatial indeed. All right, you guys take care, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks everyone for coming.